Welcome to the Intimate Partner Violence Video Mini-Series 2021 for Trinidad and Tobago, also known as IPV-TT 2021. My name is Diane Lewis and I'm a victim service provider. In this episode, we'll be looking at some of the statistics on intimate partner violence in Trinidad and Tobago. In 2020, there was a total of 10,752 crimes. 2,337 of these crimes were domestic violence cases, which accounted for 21.7% of the total crimes reported and detected by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, whether that be via telephone, station visits, or online reporting. There were 399 homicides for 2020 as well, and 24 of these homicides were intimate partner violence related. That is 6% of the total murders for 2020 were IPV related. It's important to note that the increase in domestic violence cases for 2020 could be attributed to the COVID-19 lockdowns, as well as an increase in reports being made due to the beginning of the gender-based violence unit earlier in that year. So the following pie chart and bar graphs represent a breakdown of the 24 IPV-related murders in 2020, classified according to gender, age group, and socioeconomic status of the victims, as well as the offender's relationship to the victim at the time of the murder. So, of these 24 IPV-related homicides, 70.8% of the victims were female and 29.2% of the victims were male. That is 17 victims were female and 7 victims were male. For the age distribution among victims, the highest group of victims were females between the ages of 25 to 54 years old. As you could see, it varied among the age groups, but most of the victims were found among females ages 25 to 54 years old. In looking at the ethnicity distribution, African and East Indian females accounted for the majority of the victims. African and East Indian males, as well as mixed females, accounted for the second majority of victims. For the socioeconomic status of IPV homicide victims, most were either low-income or unemployed females. It's important to note that the socioeconomic status was based on the income level of the victim according to their occupation. The unemployed category of the socioeconomic status included housewives, and the unknown category included those whose occupations were not listed. In the offender-victim relationship category, the term spouse referred to those who were both legally married and in common law relationships. Most of the victims were the female spouses of the offender. The term partner, however, referred to boyfriends and girlfriends of the victims and includes those in both heterosexual and same-sex relationships. The term other in this category referred to those in an undefined intimate relationship or a third-party individual. That is an external relationship to the one they have already established. So now we're going to take a look at some of the intimate partner violence statistics in Trinidad and Tobago for 2021 so far. It will focus on the period January to August. So of the 216 homicides from January to August, 11 of these were IPV related, which accounts for 5% of the murders during this period. Quite a similar amount to those reported in 2020. The following pie chart and bar graphs represent a breakdown of these 11 IPV-related homicides by gender, age group, and socioeconomic status of the victims, as well as the offender's relationship to the victim at the time of the murder. Of the 24 IPV-related homicides, 63.6% of the victims were female and 36.4% of the victims were male. This means that from January to August 2021, 7 females and 4 males were victims of intimate partner violence. For the age distribution among victims, the highest group of victims were females between the ages of 25 to 34, and then those between the ages of 45 to 54 years of age. In looking at the ethnicity distribution, African females accounted for the majority of the victims, while East Indian females and African males followed as the second majority. Similar to the information gathered for 2020, the socioeconomic status of IPV homicide victims, most were unemployed females. However, middle-income females accounted for the second highest number of IPV homicide victims. Once again, it's important to note that the socioeconomic status was based on the income level of the victims according to their occupation. The unemployed category of the socioeconomic status included housewives. Again, in the offender-victim relationship category, the term spouse referred to those who were both legally married and in common law relationships. And most of the victims, once again, were the female spouses of the offender. However, 2 males were killed by their spouses. The term partner referred to boyfriends and girlfriends of the victims and includes those in both heterosexual and same-sex relationships. 2 males and 1 female were killed by an ex-partner. In both years, it was observed that IPV-related homicide victims varied in age range and race. However, what stood out is that more women were victims of IPV than men, and it consisted mostly of women who were either in a common law relationship or legally married. This could be that women who stayed in abusive relationships were doing it for the sake of time invested or having assets together, or even the fact that they may have had children. Also, most of these victims were either unemployed or low-income earning women, which means that women probably stayed in an abusive relationship as well because they were financially dependent. All statistical data shown in this video was sourced from the Crime and Problem Analysis branch of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, also known as CAPA. However, these statistics do not include IPV-related assaults reported to the police. There's also the dark figure of crime, or in this case, we could say the dark figure of IPV, which illustrates several unreported and undiscovered IPV-related crimes, which in Trinidad and Tobago would be a higher number. Be sure to look out for the next episode on the 5 types of intimate partner violence on October 7, 2021. Should you have any questions on intimate partner violence or queries about the information we just discussed, please feel free to reach out at the email address listed on this slide. Thanks for listening. If you or anyone you know has been a victim of intimate partner violence or any type of other domestic violence, please take note of the following agencies on the screen and their contact numbers for help. If you're experiencing or you're currently witnessing any sort of violence, please contact the emergency services at 999 or 555 for immediate assistance.